The hunting grounds of Vakar Prime fell silent as warrior Grax Thorn raised his plasma blade, its crimson edge humming with lethal energy. Around him, 12 of the finest Vakari warriors stood in formation, their scaled armor gleaming under the twin suns. They had tracked the human intruder for 3 solar cycles, and now she stood cornered against the crystalline cliffs of the breeding grounds. But something was wrong. Lynn Avery, the human girl who had somehow survived alone in their most hostile territory, wasn't running. She stood perfectly still, her small frame dwarfed by the towering warriors, her hands raised not in surrender but in warning. And surrounding her in a protective circle were 6 Vakari cubs predators in their juvenile form, each no larger than a human child but already equipped with razor-sharp claws and developing venom sacs. "Stand aside, human," Grax commanded, his translator collar rendering his growls into standard. "You have trespassed on sacred ground. The penalty is death." Lynn's eyes, impossibly calm for someone facing execution, met his. "I can't do that." One of the cubs, a female with distinctive golden stripes, pressed closer to Lynn's leg, releasing a warning hiss toward the warriors. The other cubs followed suit, their small bodies tense, ready to strike despite being hopelessly outmatched. Grax had seen many things in his 40 cycles of service. He had faced the nightmare creatures of the void reaches. He had stood against the mechanical hordes during the Silicon Wars, but he had never seen Vakari cubs defend an alien, especially not a human. Cubs who should have torn her apart on instinct were instead forming a living shield around her. "What sorcery is this?" demanded Sub-Commander Rika, her blade wavering. "No sorcery," Lynn said quietly. "Just trust." The golden-striped cub growled again, deeper this time, and Grax felt something primal stir in his warrior's heart. He knew that sound. It was the same sound his own offspring had made when he'd accidentally stepped too close to their nesting area, a sound that said, "You will not pass." "Explain yourself, human," Grax said, lowering his blade slightly. "Why do the cubs protect you?" Lynn's expression softened. 3 days ago, I found them trapped in a collapsed den. Their mother had been killed by a rock slide. They were starving, crying out. I could have left them, should have, probably, given what I know about your species. But I heard them, and I couldn't walk away. She gestured to the cubs around her. I dug them out, fed them from my rations, kept them warm during the ice storms. I was trying to find a way to return them to your settlement when your patrol found us. Impossible, Rika spat. Vakari cubs imprint only on their blood parents. They attack all others on sight. It is our nature. Is it? Lynn asked. And there was no accusation in her voice. Only genuine curiosity. Or is it what you've always assumed? The golden-striped cub suddenly broke from the circle and approached Grax. His warriors tensed, weapons raised, but the warrior commander held up a hand, stopping them. The cub sniffed at his armored leg, then looked back at Lynn as if seeking permission. The human girl nodded, and the cub pressed its small head against Grax's shin, the Vakari gesture of trust. Grax's blade clattered to the ground. In that moment, the legendary warrior understood something that shattered 40 cycles of certainty. The cubs didn't protect Lynn because of some mystical bond or human trickery. They protected her because she had shown them something his own kind had forgotten, that strength wasn't just about hunting and killing, but about choosing not to when it mattered most. Stand down, Grax ordered, his voice rough with emotion. All of you, lower your weapons. Commander? Rika's confusion was evident. She saved our young when she could have left them to die, Grax said, watching as more cubs approached his warriors, their initial aggression fading into curiosity. What does that make her? Enemy or ally? The question hung in the air as ancient as honor itself. Lynn slowly lowered her hands. I didn't do it to make peace with your people. I did it because they needed help. And I could give it. That's what humans do. We see something suffering, and we can't help but try to fix it, even when it's dangerous. Even when it doesn't make sense. Madness, Rika muttered, but her blade was now sheathed. Perhaps, Grax agreed. But if this is madness, then perhaps we have been too sane for too long. He knelt before Lynn, bringing his massive frame down to her level, a gesture of equality no Vakari warrior had ever shown an alien. Lynn Avery, you have done what no outsider has ever accomplished. You have touched the hearts of our young and reminded us that mercy is not weakness. The golden-striped cub climbed onto Grax's shoulder, purring a sound of contentment that made several warriors gasp in disbelief. You will come with us, Grax continued, not as a prisoner, but as a guest of honor. The council must hear of this day. They must see what you have shown us. Lynn smiled, and for the first time since the confrontation began, she looked like what she truly was, a young woman far from home, who had simply followed her heart. And the cubs? They will be returned to the nursery, Grax said. But you will visit them, if you wish. You have earned that right. As the war party turned back toward the settlement, cubs playing around their feet where moments before only violence had waited, Grax Thorn understood why the galaxy feared humanity. Not because they were the strongest or the most advanced, but because they possessed a dangerous and beautiful madness, the compulsion to protect, to nurture, to show compassion even to those who might one day become enemies. It was a lesson the Vakari had needed for generations. And it had taken a single human girl, with a gentle heart to teach it to their greatest warriors. In the distance, the twin suns set over Vakar Prime, and for the first time in recorded history, humans and Vakari walked together in peace, guided by the innocent trust of cubs who knew nothing of war, only kindness.